In this walkthrough, we're going to go ahead and customize the display templates for search in SharePoint 2013, 2016, and SharePoint Online. And in this demo, we're using SharePoint Online. So I'm going to do a search here on the word page. You'll just pull up a bunch of pages. What we want to do is we want to make some modifications here. Instead of going into like making actual specific huge sweeping changes, what I want to do is just go over the basic theories, show the files that are going to be updated, and make really simple changes that we can see. And then hopefully from that, you can then figure out how you can make changes to a specific result that we say here. Maybe you want to make a change to the content that is being displayed in this result. Let's look at that. We'll look at the display panel on how we could address the display template that's used for the display panel. And then also we're going to look at the refiners on the left, and we're going to make some simple changes. So let's first go ahead and look at how the search results web part here has been configured. This is all out of the box stuff. So if we edit the page and we go ahead and go to the tool part, what we're going to find is we have some display templates. We have a general wrapper, a default result wrapper, and then also we have this set to use result types to display items. So this allows us to use result types, which is kind of nice. So dependent upon the data that's coming back, the type of item that's coming back, a different type of display template will be used. Now we're going to go ahead and make a copy of the default display template, and then we're going to go ahead and set all results to use that, but you could use result types if you wanted as well to get the same basic outcome. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up SharePoint Designer. And in SharePoint Designer, when we go into the master page gallery and then go to display templates and then now search, the search folder, we're going to see all of our different display templates that are available to us out of the box. So what we want to do is make some copies here. We're going to take the control search results template, so we'll right click that, and then also we're going to grab the default item. It's the item default.html. So if we grab these two and copy, and I'm going to now paste them, like I've done in my other demos here, into a display template folder I created in the demo properties folder found in the master page gallery. So I added this demo properties, I then added display templates, and I created, this is where I'm putting my custom display templates. And we can do that because, again, display templates can be put anywhere in the master page gallery that you basically want, as long as the content types are set up properly. So if I refresh that, I can see that SharePoint did properly create the JS files for me, but we're not going to touch those at all because we don't need to. Okay, let me go ahead and rename these files. We're going to call it demo control search results. Let's go ahead and rename this one to demo item. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's go look at the demo control search results. This is just a control item template. We're going to rename the title so that it looks different so we can find it in our results. And the only thing I really want to change here, because this is just like any standard display template we've seen, I mean, there's a whole bunch of code going on here, and you could definitely change all the different pieces that you may want to have. We can see grouping there. There was paging at the bottom, footer. You could change so much here. I just want to show you that the change is actually going to happen. So we're going to add here a new class that we're going to look for when we use this display template. All right, so let's go ahead and let's check this in. And let me go ahead and refresh that just to make sure it all looks good. Excellent. So now we need to go ahead and stop the editing, and we're going to look at this page here using the developer toolbar. And we want to scroll up to the main wrapper of this, which is right here. And we saw this class, MS search result, and you can see that's the only class here available. So now if we go ahead and edit this page, go to display template, we're going to switch to the demo default result. That's now there because I changed the title and I checked in and published a major version. So I stop and edit and element select, and let's go ahead and look to see what that top wrapper is now doing. That would be right here, and you can see that my class got added. So using the developer toolbar, I would think you could now go ahead and figure out what the wrapper is doing, what this control template is doing, and you can add in your own paging. You can customize anything you want to now do that's a part of the control template. So let's go ahead now and look at the item template. Now the item template is a little more tricky. There's a lot more going on there. And so like I've done in the past, I'm going to go ahead and cheat a little. I'm going to edit that template, but I'm going to go to a backup that I have, and I'm actually going to move over a bunch of extra files as well. So we'll get to these in a second, but I've got a body, an item body template, and an item hover panel template that I'm going to use. So let me copy those over here, and let me refresh. And I need to check these two out, and I have to edit them. And the reason why what I do here is I just want to make sure the title is unique. So I'm removing the word backup from the title just so that they are in fact unique. We'll get to those in a sec. All right, let's go look though at another one of the files I had, which was the item property. Let me go ahead and just grab everything that's in here. So this is the default item template. So we have a title, which we're going to replace. The other important thing is the managed properties. We saw that before. We're able to grab from this item template, which we might want to change that. And then what we see here at the bottom is the way things get rendered. And this is what's fun and interesting. So we have this wrapper for the item. We then have this render body. That's going to be all of the body of a specific item. Well, how could you change that? I want to change that, let's say. I want to change and add my own managed properties or something. So we want to look to see what we'd have to do to fix that. And then we can also see that there's this hover panel here. It's the search hover outer container. Well, what's really interesting is the way that this works. There's a hover URL variable that is set, and it points to an actual specific display template. And then this is then used later on here, which is these two things right here, which says when the item is hovered, then go ahead and display the hover panel and go and use the display template found at these locations. So let's go ahead and make that all work. And I'm going to now go ahead and just copy and paste my example, and we'll see what we did here. I did make some changes to the managed properties. We can skip that. One of the things I wanted to do was change the hover panel. Okay, so I went ahead and I changed that URL, the hover panel URL, to point to my own hover panel display template. That's the one I just copied over. That's this one right here. So all you need to do in your custom item template, in order to have a specific result type point to your own hover panel, is just change the URL of the hover URL to your display template for your hover panel. But check this out. You got to make sure you're linking to the .js, not to the .html, because again, SharePoint uses the actual .js for its display templates. So that's really easy. Now the next thing I wanted to do though was I wanted to change how the body was rendered. And so that used to be the CTX render body. You actually can override that by using your own specific body display template. And it gets really interesting. What you need to do is you create a display template. In this case, I created a display template called demo result item property item body.js. That's this one here that I just copied over. And I am loading it up. I'm getting and I'm rendering that template by name. I'm grabbing that template. This is all out of the box SharePoint JavaScript that's provided that I can go render a template if I provide the name. Once I get that, I can then use another function that SharePoint provides called core render, which allows me to actually render those results. So by getting and rendering the display template and then using core render, I can now change the body of that specific result item. You can also see above that I wanted to go ahead and display maybe another managed property or something. So what I was doing here for a property type was I was going to display a property type variable, which if you look up here, I already got that. I already got that value from the results that came in. Okay. As said, this doesn't fully work yet because this JavaScript file doesn't even, the display template doesn't know about this JavaScript file even though you're using it. What you need to do as well is you need to make sure that you tell this display template about that body rendering JavaScript file. So you can see here at the top, I'm pre-referencing that JavaScript file, that display template, just for the body. I don't need to do this for the hover panel. I only need to do it for the body. If you want to change how the result body is rendered. If all you wanted to do is change the hover panel, let's say, you could just change the hover URL to your own hover URL, and that's it. You're good to go. But in this case, I wanted to do just a little bit more. Okay, so let's go ahead and go look at these other files that I created and see what they do. So let's go ahead and go to the body. And what this is doing is, if we scroll down, this all comes from kind of out of the box SharePoint, that they give you this body template that just can't be used unless you actually point to it properly. But what I ended up doing was I added in this extra little thing, and I'm grabbing that property type again. That property type here is specific to my installation here. It's just that I was trying to get a custom managed property and from search to give it this property type variable. So let's go ahead and look at the hover panel and see what's going on there. And so the hover panel, I did some extra little debugging here, but if we scroll all the way down, what really matters, and what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to add in this PM search hover class to this specific hover panel. So what we're going to be looking for now, once I go ahead and save everything, let's close some of that just to make life easier on us. Let's go ahead and check everything in. Publish a major version to make it all available. Okay. So let's go ahead, and we need to edit this page, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the search results web part to use the default result item for that display template for everybody. It'll just sort of make life a little easier. We probably wouldn't want to do that. We normally would want to just have our specific result types, maybe use our specific ones, but I can now use the demo property item body, because that was the name that we titled that, the item display template. So we can see the results definitely changed a lot here. I mean, it has the word properties here, but it doesn't actually have anything listed. But for this other one, we actually do have a property name listed because it is linking to a property. But something of interest is that I actually went ahead and I removed the hover panel, and you can see it's a lot wider. So the display template actually went ahead and removed that. Even though it was linking to it, we removed the link so that you actually wouldn't get that extra hover panel to show up. So you can really tweak and manipulate your results and the way that results are printed by changing the different display templates that are available to you. There's primarily going to be that item template, and that item template is going to at least point to a hover panel. You can then tweak that hover panel by creating your own copy and then just modifying the hover URL in your item template to link to your new hover panel. You can then change really anything you want. If you want to change the body, the way the body is rendered of a specific item, what you can do is use that extra little code I showed you, where you use your own custom body template. It's an item template, but it's for the body of the actual result. You could then point your result item template to that body to re-render the body. Really, really powerful stuff. So the last thing I want to do here is I want to go ahead and I want to change the refiners here on the left. These are your filters. So let's go ahead and look to see what we can do there. Within the display template folder, there is a filters folder. So if we go into filters, we can see that there is a specific filter for default. I want to make a copy of this. This is kind of like by default the filter item template that would be used for any refiner on the left. So let me go ahead and create a copy of that. And I'm going to paste it here. And I want to go ahead and rename this demo filter default, and I'm going to check it out. That's just because it's still thinking. Let's try it again. There we go. Edit in advanced mode. I'm going to name this to demo, so I have a title. I want to make two changes here. One is kind of fun and interesting. On line 25 out of the box, there's this show counts of false. Well, I'm going to change that to true. So basically what show counts is going to say is, hey, I want to go ahead and show how many results of each refiner is actually going to be available. Now the other thing I want to do, and this is one of the things that you learn slowly by figuring things out, I want each refiner group to be pre-collapse. Well, there's this whole thing as if expanded. You can actually go ahead and trigger this and say, oh, hey, I want to set the expand to actually be false. And there's a line of code. Basically, it's based off this get expanded. There's this set expanded. that you can run, and you can then run that on the property name, and you can set that to false. So that should pre-collapse all of your results. It's one of those things where someone figured it out years ago, and I picked it up a while back. It's just something I have in my tool bag now of things I can do. So if I want to have the refiners pre-collapsed, I can go ahead and set that. So all I did here is I added one line of code to my little filter, and at the top I added the show counts to true. So let's go ahead and check this in to make it available to us. Alright, so now that that's checked in, I should be able to edit this page. And over in the Refiner web part on the left, I want to change my different content type filters. So I will edit the web part. And this is interesting. So there's a control template of vertical, but in order to change the different Refiner item templates, that would be the item template for each of these different groups, you actually need to click on Choose Refiners. And then on the different filters here on the right, you can then change the display template you'd like to use. So I can use default refiner template for all of these different things. All these different things for all these specific managed properties, that are being returned. The last modified I'm actually going to leave left as is, because the last modified time I kind of want to keep that cool looking graph here on the left. Okay, so I click OK and stop editing. Now in the page the result came through, my refiners on the left are pre-collapsed. They're not expanded, and when I expand them, you can see I now get this number next to them. It's the show count, so it shows you kind of how many results there are from that specific value of that managed property. So that's how you can change the refiners, and hopefully you see a lot of the power that you can have here by manipulating not only the results, but here on the refiners you can manipulate the whole panel. You can then manipulate the item template that's used by each of these different groups so that you can really change and modify how your refiners might be shown. And through this whole method, you can change your search experience dramatically with display templates, and everything is in HTML and JavaScript, no more XSLT, which is awesome. In the next little video, we're going to look in the last one here of this whole display template overview. We're going to look at how we can debug all of this kind of code.